anyone else get super sad when looking at their parents' face and realizing they are growing old? Is it just me? I get super sad when I look in a mirror and see my mum staring back at me. Both of mine are deceased. Mom made it to 82. Died quickly of lung cancer once diagnosed. She was always viewed by folks as a beautiful lady all her life, and even in old age she maintained that look. But in her last months I really noticed the old age look. I'm nearly 65 and I wonder how my kids view me. Yeah, lately I'm noticing how my 62, 69-year-old parents are looking more like my grandparents back when they were alive. 80s, 90s. I'm even noticing how much like my parents I look. Funny how I see my mum, my dad. Genetics are fascinating. I'm also wondering about personality. What I inherited from each. Nature versus nurture. I'm scared of losing my parents getting old. I'll be 35 this year. I feel like 40 is when you really start to get old. I've hardly lived at all. Life really is short. Yet it felt so long when we were young. I wish I could go back to 12. I was so happy, carefree then. Yeah, it feels pretty weird. When I've been with my dad for a while, I can still see him as a 40-something-year-old like he was when I was a kid. It's kind of like when you're pooping in the bathroom and you don't notice the smell because your nose has adjusted to it. It's like going nose blind. But for age. But when I first look at him after having not seen each other in many months, he looks like an old man. The worst is when you live away and see them only after a long time period. I moved several hours away from my hometown and only came home 3 or 4 times a year. The aging is far more noticeable. I remarked to my sister, who still lived in my hometown, how much our dad had aged once. And she said, "Don't tell me that. I can't see it yet. It's been 10 years since I left. And the progression is hard to take." When my mum used to complain about the aches and pains of getting old, I used to tell her it's better than the alternative. I'm pushing 70 now and feel the same about myself. Yes. My parents had kids quite late for people of their generation. In primary school, my classmates all had parents in their 20s and 30s when mine were in their 40s. Even then, this made me feel sad that I'd likely lose my parents before all my classmates would. I don't, but it is good that you recognize your parents won't be here forever. It means you won't be one of those people who takes your parents for granted and will hopefully make sure to spend lots of quality time with them. All the time. They're in their 70s. Dad being closer to 80 now. While still pretty healthy for their age. The decline is becoming more evident. I hold on very tightly to memories of their younger days while dreading the inevitable. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. But I nearly lost them both to heart disease and cancer. So my views may be slightly skewed compared to the rest. No, it's not just you. My kids are starting to do that shit. I'm 54 dudes, not 80 fuck man. My dad was so young until he wasn't. Throat cancer aged him 20 years. He now needs naps every day. Has constant tinnitus from targeted radiation. Copes with intermittent vertigo. And needs hearing aids. I'm absolutely blessed he survived and despite these issues is living a full, happy life. But watching my hero become so frail was a gut punch. It's one thing to know we all get old and die. It's another to realize it about the people you put on pedestals. They're not supposed to be as fallible as the rest of us. I think about it often and I'm sad too. It's not just you. See my mom's grey hair starting to begin was a very weird to see to me. My dad though has just acted and looked old since ever. I moved away from home for like 7 months and my dad got a surgery while I was gone, and when he came to help me pack and move back I saw him and my heart broke. It happens so much faster than you realize. No. Because so are you. Old lady here. Being old awesome. Actually. You know who you are. You know what to GAF about and what to ignore. The guys at Home Depot load stuff into your car for you without asking. People give up their seats for you and call you mom. The warranties expiring on the body parts are annoying but acceptable. My dad was talking about a flat tire and calling AA. I thought that was weird. Maybe lazy. Then he said it was because he couldn't lift a tire anymore. Wow. He used to spend hours chopping firewood. And we've moved lots of furniture over the years. The memory deterioration is quite a trip as well. As the child-parent roles almost reverse. Like we had a talk about retirement communities and I was arguing how they should make a decision now, while they were still capable. Not so much my dad since I see him fairly often, but I haven't seen my mom in nearly 10 years and she sent a pic of herself recently and it made me cry. I can't believe how much she had aged. It broke my heart and made me cry so much on how much time has been wasted. Edit spelling and grammar. I grew up looking at my parents and feeling sad for countless reasons, so now that they are getting older I kinda just bury it. I was the youngest of a large family. And born to older parents. I saw them aging and bummed about it from very early on before kindergarten. I think about my kids seeing this happening in me. I'm 29F. My great-grandmother is alive and fairly active. I'm watching my mother begin to look like my grandmother begin to look like her mother. It's sad but it's also profoundly beautiful. It's a very special thing to watch my great-grandmother interact with my daughter 4 months. I've been blessed. 2 weeks ago my great-grandmother lost her husband. He was 98 and they were married for 78 years. I know I will not have her much longer. I try to practice gratitude for getting to know them and grow up with them at all. My dad had me when he was 61. I've only known him in old age, so this realization was always there, I guess. Kinda weird now that I think about it. I am just asking myself if they are saying goodbye to me or I am the one who is saying goodbye. They aren't good people, so no, it doesn't make me sad. I went to my aunt's place at one time. I loved it, her spacious, well-maintained garden and her simple miner's home gold. And I suddenly realized that my time with them was growing short. So I sat down at her veranda and cried my eyes out. My aunt was ancient. Her daughter, who was getting up there herself, found me and we had a bit of a cuddle. I knew I loved them. But that moment really underlined how much I loved them. It wasn't that many years later until we stopped going. As they'd died. I miss them so very much. Yes, devastated. It's so awful. Not entirely relevant to the post, but I'm extremely jealous of people who have good relationships with their parents. I'm a grown-ass man and it still bothers me daily. Me for sure. We live in different states. So beyond FaceTime calls, we only see each other maybe a couple times a year. My mom turned 70 last year and I can definitely see it. First time I've noticed her aging since she was in her 50s. Saw a picture of my dad from yesterday and noticed that his salt and pepper hair is now all salt. I've been hyper aware of their mortality for the past few years and I really want to move closer to them sometime soon to be around for however long I can have them.